Namaste, everybody. Let me take you all on a journey. You see, a few years ago, my friend's sister Advika, she came home from school and she was a little quieter than usual. Her parents were worried and asked her, Beta, are you okay? There was no response. A few weeks later, actually, it came out. She was unfortunately being bullied by some girls in her school. Her parents were naturally upset. Why didn't you tell us? But their advice was just go to school and ignore them. They don't matter. After some more time, the situation escalated again. The teachers had to get involved this time. They said, we've spoken to those girls, Advika. It won't happen again. And yet, it did. Finally, she said to her parents, I never want to go to school again. Ladies and gentlemen, this happened for 4 months. 4 months. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't breaking apart. She was just panicking inside in a manner that nobody could see. And that's normally how it happens with kids. You know, they don't dramatically fall apart. They just go quieter and quieter. And what struck me was that in all this time, nobody taught Advika how to handle the situation for herself. The adults in her life handled the situation the way most adults do, with love, absolutely, but always from the outside. They told her it would be okay. They tried to manage the situation for her, but never equipped her with the tools to do it herself. And I kept wondering, self-regulation, emotional resilience, mental health, these are all serious, important conversations, and we know that. But somewhere along the line, we've decided these are adult conversations, that kids will get to them when they're older or when they're ready. But Advika needed these tools at 8 years old, not at 18, not at 25, at just 8. So the question on my mind was, why do kids have to wait to feel better? And then something changed. Suddenly, I started noticing what was around me. A classmate who couldn't sleep for weeks because something negative about her was posted online. Junior student whose grades had dipped overnight because of his parents' divorce. Someone in my society who was previously bullied and was now lashing out at other people. I was wondering, what would an ideal solution look like? And most importantly, why hadn't one already been created? Well, in my opinion, the solution would have to have 3 things integrated within it. Number 1, wellness must start young. There's a theory in psychology called the critical period hypothesis, which states that certain abilities like emotional and social skills are best picked up during specific windows in our childhood. And when we miss those, we're not just late, we're playing catch up for years. This is better explained in behavioral science as the theory of compounding. You see, everything you do at a young age compounds. Let me say that again because it's the most important line in this talk. Everything you do at a young age will compound. That means good habits compound, and certainly bad ones will too. Wellness takes time, and we must stop wasting that time. Secondly, wellness is best received from peers. Think about it. When a school counselor, who is maybe twice or thrice your age, asks you to share how you're feeling in front of the class, you might just tell them what you think they want to hear and just walk right out of the room feeling unchanged. But when your friend in chemistry class turns to you and says, hey, try out this breathing technique, it really helped me before ma'am's surprise class test, you actually lean in and listen with trust and awe. That's not a flaw in how kids work, it's just fundamental human nature. And thirdly, wellness must be gamified. In this modern era, how can wellness remain a lecture or a slideshow about coping mechanisms? No, it must feel like play rather than therapy. Because the more wellness feels forced, the more kids will just tune out. But the more it feels like something that kids might choose to do, maybe even on a free lesson, that's where real learning can happen. And I want you to think about it. When was the last time a one sided lecture changed how you felt about yourself? So, at 15, I created the Wellness Council and became what I like to call a wellness whisperer. Joined by my best friends Nirvan and Arya, I pitched this idea to my school counselor who saw something in it. We chose to walk into classrooms of 6 to 13-year-olds, which is grades 1 through 8. Because if science says that window is open now, then that's when we must walk through it. Am I right? Now, let me tell you, our first session, it was messy, it was pretty loud, and it was definitely imperfect. But the kids loved it. I mean, they loved it actually opening up. And somewhere along the way, that one nervous session made us feel like we were onto something that could actually inspire many others to create their own versions of it. Now, let me tell you what a wellness council session looks like in action so you can see where the idea comes to life. For starters, how many of us growing up thought that anger was inherently a bad emotion, or that sadness is something we have to stay away from at all costs? Sound familiar? I know it does. And I think most of us were well into our teenage years before someone told us that your anger can actually be redirected into hard work, or that sadness is just a fuel to come back stronger next time. I personally hadn't heard of this emotional redirection until I was in my senior years of high school. And I kept wondering, how powerful would it be if kids could learn that in their primary years? Well, that's exactly what some of our modules do. For example, emotion charades. In this module, students will act out an emotion via gestures, while the audience tries to name it. But here's where it gets real. Once the emotion is correctly identified, we then unpacked it together. For example, what triggers it? Why does it show up? And most importantly, how can that be channeled into something positive? In today's day and age, most of us don't address what we feel simply because we cannot put a name to it. But with this module comes vocabulary. And with vocabulary comes the power to regulate how you feel. Some other fan favorites that students used to love, and I must share, are, for example, Don't Roast, Let's Toast, which works like the Pass the Parcel game we all grew up playing, except when the music stops, the student holding the parcel will give a compliment to whoever's seated on their right and left. And my friends, let me tell you, you will be surprised to learn how long a sincere compliment can stay with someone and how it can quietly reshape the way they see themselves. And in Spoonful of Laughter with jokes galore, the quietest student was laughing the loudest every single time. And it was at this point I wondered, was I teaching these kids anything that they didn't already have inside of them? Maybe I was just giving them a safe space to let their feelings out. Like when kids used to turn to each other and say, I love how you always greet me when you come to school. It makes me feel so special. And teachers had confirmed that the camaraderie was building in the classrooms. And most importantly, school was actually becoming a happier place for these kids. And while that's the great part, I also want to acknowledge that any idea worth sharing definitely has its limits. You see, a 2025 systematic review in scientific reports stated that while peer-led models like this are definitely feasible to implement and can reduce stigma, their real impact on clinical mental health outcomes remains unknown. Simply put, programs like ours offered comfort, but comfort by itself is not treatment. Now, isn't that an important distinction to make? The Wellness Council was never designed to replace professional care. It was just meant to open the front door. Because you see, in a world that is becoming increasingly digital, maybe what students crave most is genuine human connection, peer-to-peer playtime, and a space where vulnerability is not a weakness. And This experience taught me something I'll carry forever. That right now, millions of students don't even have that front door. And that's why I think each and every single one of us can make a difference. So, what can you do? Let me leave you with this. You don't need to start your own project to make a difference. Here's what you can do. Somewhere around you, there is a kid who is suffering quietly. They may not raise their hand, they may not ask for help. They just need someone to tell them that it's okay not to be okay. So be the person who chooses to uplift instead of tear down. Be the person who can pass on a word, a compliment, a moment of kindness that someone may carry home with them. Sometimes be the person who notices. So that's what we all must do. We must stop waiting and choose to do something. Because you see, sometimes, my friends, the best institutions for young people are the ones they build themselves. And wellness was never meant to be a lecture, but it certainly was meant to be something contagious. So go out there and spread it. And just remember, what if the best medicine we've all been searching for is actually each other? Signing off, I'm Kiyan Kapur. Thank you very much.